"I'll marry her," his brother said, pointing at me. The dining room fell silent. Because there was no her. Just family. Just soldiers. Just me standing in the shadows doing what I'd done for 6 months. Watching Cristiano De Luca's back while pretending to be someone I wasn't. Cristiano's response was immediate. Possessive and confused. "He's mine." He meant me. Marco Costa. His bodyguard. His shadow. His most trusted friend. Then Rafael, Cristiano's younger brother, smiled. And said 5 words that destroyed everything. "She. Brother. She is yours." Before I could run, before I could stop him, he ripped the cap from my head. My hair tumbled down. Long and dark. Female hair. And I watched Cristiano's face as the truth shattered him. What happens when a mafia boss discovers his most trusted bodyguard has been a woman all along? When his brother is in love with her. When she's pregnant with his child from a night he doesn't remember. Subscribe right now because this story will break your heart and put it back together in ways you never expected. This is about being seen, being hidden, and learning that sometimes the person you trust most is the one you've been looking at all along. Let me tell you how I became invisible. My name is Gianna Costa, and for 6 months I didn't exist. Not as myself anyway. For 6 months I was Marco Costa. Male bodyguard, silent shadow, the man who stood 3 steps behind Cristiano De Luca at all times and spoke only when necessary. For 6 months I bound my breasts with sports tape every morning until breathing hurt. Cut my hair short and slicked it back with gel. Lowered my voice half an octave and practiced masculine mannerisms in the mirror until they became second nature. For 6 months I was invisible. And it was the safest I'd ever felt. 6 months and 1 day ago, I'd walked into the De Luca estate as myself. Gianna Costa, 27, former military close protection specialist, daughter of Antonio Costa who died protecting this family when I was 15. Cristiano's grandmother, Nana Isabella, had hired me personally. Pulled strings to get me the interview. Insisted I was the only one who could protect her grandson properly. Then she'd given me the impossible condition. "Pi Cristiano," she'd said, her ancient eyes sharp with something that looked like prophecy, "is un idiota. A stubborn fool. He refuses female bodyguards. Says they're weak. Says they're a liability. Says a woman can't do what needs to be done." She'd leaned forward and I'd seen the steel beneath the grandmother's softness. "So if you want this job, if you want to honor your father's legacy, you will have to stop being a woman." I should have refused. Should have told her that disguising myself was dishonest, dangerous, impossible to maintain for more than a week. Should have walked away from a job that required me to deny my entire identity just to be considered capable. But my sister Sophia was 16 and brilliant and wanted to be a doctor. And medical school cost money I didn't have. Money this job would provide. And my father had died for this family. Died protecting Cristiano's father from an assassination attempt when I was 15 years old. Took 3 bullets meant for the boss and bled out on the marble floor while I watched from the doorway where I'd come to bring him lunch. I'd held his hand while he died. "Protect them, Gianna," he'd whispered, blood on his lips. "Promise me. The De Lucas, their family. Promise me you'll protect them." I'd promised. And 12 years later, Nana Isabella was giving me the chance to keep that promise. So I cut my hair. Bound my chest. Became someone else. The first month was absolute terror. Every morning I'd wake up convinced today would be the day someone noticed. Noticed the slightly too delicate bone structure. The hands that were too small, too soft. The way I moved that wasn't quite masculine enough no matter how much I practiced. But Cristiano had looked at me exactly once during my hiring interview. "You have your father's eyes," he'd said, his voice carrying the weight of old grief. "Antonio was a good man. Loyal. I'm glad his son wants to continue his legacy." Then he'd nodded at his head of security. "Give him the standard package. He starts Monday." And that was it. He barely looked at me again. I became furniture. Background. The shadow 3 steps behind him during meetings, in the car, at restaurants. Present but ignored. For 6 weeks I was the most invisible I'd ever been. Then I saved his life the first time. And everything changed. It happened during a business dinner at the estate. 8 men around the table discussing territory and profit margins in Italian. I understood but pretended not to. I was standing against the wall, hands clasped, face neutral. The perfect statue of a bodyguard. Cristiano reached for his evening scotch. And I smelled it. Bitter almonds. faint but unmistakable beneath the expensive whiskey. Cyanide. I moved without thinking. Crossed the room in 3 strides and knocked the glass from his hand before it reached his lips. It shattered on the marble floor, amber liquid spreading like blood. The room went silent. Cristiano stared at me shocked. "What the hell, Marco?" "Poison," I said, keeping my voice low, masculine. "Bitter almond smell. Someone put cyanide in your drink." His expression shifted from shock to cold fury. He looked at the 8 men around the table. "Nobody leaves this room until we find out who tried to kill me." It took 3 hours, but they found the culprit, a server who'd been paid by a rival family to take out the boss. After it was done, after the traitor was dragged away, Cristiano looked at me differently. With respect. Trust. "Good catch, Marco," he'd said quietly. His hand had landed on my shoulder. Heavy, warm, the first real physical contact between us. "You saved my life tonight. I won't forget that." His dark eyes had held mine, and for the first time he'd really seen me. Not as furniture. Not as background. As someone who mattered. "Thank you," he'd said. And I'd heard the weight beneath those 2 words. "I owe you everything." After that night things changed. He started noticing me. Started talking to me beyond the necessary professional exchanges. Started treating Marco like a person instead of a function. It should have made me happy. Instead it broke my heart. Because every conversation, every moment of connection, every time he smiled at something Marco said, it was for someone who didn't exist. The real me remained invisible. But I told myself it was enough. Told myself that proximity was better than nothing. That being trusted as Marco was better than being dismissed as Gianna. I told myself a lot of lies that first 3 months. Then came the second time I saved his life. And the lies got harder to maintain. It was a parking garage ambush. Late night after a meeting in the financial district. 5 men with guns waiting by his car. I saw them a second before they opened fire. Shoved Cristiano behind a concrete pillar and put myself between him and the bullets. 2 hit my vest. 1 grazed my ribs, tearing through flesh and setting my entire side on fire. But I got him out. Got him into the car. Got us to his private doctor. Got him safe. Then I passed out from blood loss. When I woke, Cristiano was sitting beside the bed in the doctor's private clinic. His suit was covered in my blood. His face was wrecked. His eyes were red. He'd been crying. I'd never seen Cristiano De Luca cry. "Marco," he whispered when he saw I was awake. His hand found mine, squeezed it desperately. "You stupid brave bastard. Why would you do that? Why would you take bullets meant for me?" "Because I love you." The words screamed in my head, but I swallowed them down. "It's my job," I said instead, my voice rough with pain and morphine. "Fuck your job." His grip tightened. "You almost died. For me. And he stopped, swallowed hard. "I don't know what I would have done if you died." The raw emotion in his voice nearly undid me. "I'm fine," I managed. "Just a scratch." 3 bullets is not a scratch. He wiped at his eyes impatiently. "You're staying here until you're completely healed. No arguments. And after that," he paused. "After that you're getting a raise. A significant one. Because you're not just my bodyguard anymore, Marco. You're my friend. And I protect my friends." Friend. The word should have felt like a victory. Instead it felt like a cage. Because I didn't want to be his friend. I wanted to be seen. Really seen. As myself. But Gianna Costa couldn't protect him the way Marco Costa could. So I stayed invisible. The recovery took 2 weeks. Cristiano refused to leave the estate while I was healing, conducting all business from his study. He visited me every day. Brought me books. Talked to me about everything and nothing. And slowly, carefully our relationship shifted. He started confiding in me. Late nights he'd pour 2 glasses of scotch and talk about things he'd never told anyone. His fears about leading the family after his father's death. His loneliness at the top. His doubts about whether he was doing right by the people depending on him. "You're easy to talk to, Marco," he'd said one night, 3 weeks after I'd taken the bullets. "You don't judge. You don't give advice unless I ask. You just listen." I listened because every word felt like a gift. Because even though he couldn't see me, couldn't see her, I was closer to him like this than I'd ever be as myself. I told myself it was enough. But 3 months after I started, Rafael caught me changing in the security office. Thought I was alone. Thought everyone was at dinner. Thought I had 5 minutes to peel off the binding and let my ribs breathe before I suffocated. The door opened. Rafael stood there, takeout bag in hand, frozen, staring at my sports bra. My female body. The truth I'd hidden so carefully. "Holy shit," he whispered. "You're a woman." I grabbed my shirt, pulled it on desperately. "Rafael, please." "Does he know?" Rafael moved into the room, closed the door behind him. "Does Cristiano know?" "No. Nobody knows. Just your grandmother." I was shaking. "Please don't tell him. Please. I need this job. My sister." "Breathe." Rafael held up his hands. "I'm not going to tell him." I blinked. "You're not." "No." He moved closer and I saw something in his eyes I didn't understand yet. "But I need to know why. Why you're doing this. Why you're hiding." So I told him. About Sophia. About medical school. About my father's dying wish. And when I was done, Rafael was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that changed everything. "He talks about you constantly." "What?" "Cristiano. He talks about Marco all the time. How smart you are. How capable. How much he trusts you." Rafael's smile was sad. "I've never heard him talk about anyone the way he talks about you." My chest tightened. "He trusts his bodyguard. That's all." "No." Rafael shook his head. "It's more than that. I think my brother is falling for you. He just doesn't know it yet because he thinks you're a man." The possibility was too painful to consider. "It doesn't matter what he feels for Marco," I said quietly. "He'd never feel that way about me. About Gianna." "Are you sure about that?" I met Rafael's eyes. "Yes." But I wasn't sure at all. And over the next 3 months, as Rafael discovered the truth, something else happened. Rafael fell in love with me. It started small. Him finding excuses to talk to me, bringing me coffee, asking about my day. Then it got bigger. Flowers left in the security office. Notes slipped into my locker. Whispered conversations in hallways where he'd tell me I was beautiful, I was brilliant, I deserved to be seen. "Leave him," Rafael said 2 weeks ago. "Leave the job. Be yourself. Let me love you the way you deserve to be loved." "I don't love you," I told him honestly. "But you love him." Rafael's eyes had been full of pain and understanding. "My brother. The one who can't even see you. It doesn't matter what I feel. It's the only thing that matters." Rafael had grabbed my hands desperately. "And if you won't leave, if you insist on staying in this lie, then let me protect you. Marry me. Become family through me. Then even if he discovers the truth, he can't hurt you." "Rafael. I'm serious, Gianna. I love you. And I'm going to make him see what he's been missing. Even if it destroys us both." I should have taken his warning seriously. Should have known he meant it literally. But I didn't. And tonight, at mandatory family dinner, Rafael had looked at me across the table, at Marco standing against the wall in my bodyguard stance, and said to the room, "I have an announcement. I'm going to marry her." Confused silence. Because there was no her. Just Marco. Just me. Then Cristiano. Beautiful, dangerous, oblivious Cristiano had looked at me and said possessively, "He's mine." Meaning, his bodyguard. His responsibility. His friend. And Rafael had smiled that sad, knowing, devastating smile. And said, "You brother. She's yours. If you'd bothered to notice." Then his hand was in my hair, ripping off the cap I wore, releasing the long dark hair I'd hidden beneath it for 6 months. It tumbled down past my shoulders. And I watched Cristiano's face as the truth destroyed him. Watched recognition crash through him like a tidal wave. Watched betrayal and confusion and something that looked like grief twist his features. "Gianna," he whispered. My real name. In his voice. For the first time. And I knew that everything, the friendship, the trust, the moments of connection, was about to burn. That the woman he couldn't see was about to lose the man she'd fallen in love with. That being visible was going to cost me everything. But I lifted my chin, met his eyes, and said the only thing I could say. "Yes, it's me. It's always been me." And waited for my world to end. The silence after my admission lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then Cristiano moved. He crossed the dining room with lethal grace, stopping close enough that I could smell his cologne, cedar and something darker that I'd memorized months ago. His hand came up to my face, not gentle, fingers threading through my hair like he couldn't believe it was real. 6 months, he said, his voice dangerously quiet. 6 months you've been lying to me. I saved your life twice. I shot back, finding my voice. That wasn't a lie. Everything else was. His hand dropped. Every conversation. Every confidence. Every moment I trusted Marco. I was trusting someone who didn't exist. Marco is me. The only difference is what you saw. The only difference? His laugh was bitter. You made a fool of me. In front of my entire family. Do you understand what that means? I did. In this world, respect was everything. Being deceived by your own bodyguard for 6 months made you look weak. Blind. Vulnerable to enemies who were always watching for cracks in your armor. She did what she had to do, Rafael interjected. Your pride forced her into this deception. If you'd been willing to hire women, stay out of this. Cristiano's voice cut like a blade. He turned back to me. You're fired. Effective immediately. Pack your things and leave. The words hit like bullets. Cristiano, I started. That's not all. His jaw tightened. Family law is clear. Anyone who deceives the boss pays a price. Normally that price is blood. But since you saved my life twice. He paused and I saw the conflict warring in his eyes. You have 24 hours to disappear. After that, my men have orders to eliminate the threat you represent. You can't be serious, Rafael said, standing abruptly. She's carrying your child. The room went absolutely silent. Every head turned to stare at me. 20 men watching. Waiting. Calculating what this meant. Cristiano's face drained of color. What? Tell him, Rafael urged. Tell him about that night 4 months ago. When you brought him home bleeding. When he kissed you. Shame burned through me. Rafael, don't. When he kissed Marco, Rafael continued mercilessly. Because he was delirious from blood loss and didn't know what he was doing. When you forgot who he thought you were and let it go too far. Cristiano staggered backward like he'd been shot. I don't remember. Exactly. Rafael's voice gentled. You were hurt. Confused. The pain medication wiped the memory. But she remembers, Fratello. She remembers everything. And now she's 8 weeks pregnant with your child. I wanted to disappear. Wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole. Instead, I stood there while Cristiano processed the information with visible devastation. Is it true? He asked me directly. Are you pregnant? Yes. Is it mine? Yes. He closed his eyes and I saw his hands curl into fists. When he opened them again, something had shifted in his expression. Then you're not leaving. What? You heard me. You're not leaving. You're staying here under my protection until we figure this out. You just fired me, I pointed out. I'm unfiring you. He looked at his family. Gianna Costa is under my personal protection. Anyone who touches her answers to me directly. Understood. Murmurs of assent rippled through the room. But she's not your bodyguard anymore, Cristiano continued. He stopped, searching for words. A guest. Until we determine what happens next. What happens next is she marries me, Rafael said firmly. It's the only solution that makes sense. As my wife, she's protected by family law. The baby is legitimate. Everyone saves face. Cristiano turned to his brother with an expression I'd never seen before. Something possessive. Something dangerous. She's not marrying you. Why not? Because, Cristiano stopped, seeming to struggle with words. Because she saved my life. Because she's carrying my child. Because, another pause. Because she's mine. The word hung in the air between us. Not, my responsibility. Not, my problem. Just mine. Possessive and absolute in a way that made my breath catch. Then what are you offering? Rafael demanded. Condemnation, exile, protection without commitment. She deserves better than your confused sense of obligation. She deserves honesty, Cristiano said quietly. Which is more than she gave me. The accusation stung because it was true. I'm sorry, I said, my voice breaking. I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I deceived you. But I'm not sorry I kept you alive. And I'm not sorry for, I touched my stomach briefly. For this. Even if you don't remember it, even if it was a mistake, I'm not sorry. Something cracked in Cristiano's expression. He moved closer, his hand coming up to cup my face with devastating gentleness. "I don't remember that night," he whispered. "But I remember every other night. Every conversation. Every moment with Marco. And if Marco was you, if those moments were real despite the disguise, then we have something to build from." Hope flared painfully in my chest. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you lied about who you were. But maybe," his thumb brushed my cheekbone, "maybe I've been lying to myself about what I was feeling. About why Marco mattered so much. About why the thought of losing you makes me want to burn the world down." "Cristiano." "Stay," he said simply. "Stay here. Let me know Gianna the way I knew Marco. Let me earn the right to be the father of your child. And let me," he paused, vulnerability flickering across his features. "Let me figure out if I'm falling for you or if I've already fallen." Tears burned behind my eyes. "And if you decide you can't forgive the deception? Then we'll figure it out. Together. Like adults. But we'll do it without you running and without me making decisions based on wounded pride." His hand slid to my stomach, protective and possessive. "This child deserves better than parents who are too stubborn to try." Rafael made a sound of frustration. "So that's it? You're claiming her without offering her anything concrete? Without commitment?" "I'm offering her time," Cristiano corrected. "Time to rebuild trust. Time to know each other without lies between us. Time to see if what we had as Marco and Cristiano can exist as Gianna and Cristiano." He looked at me. "Unless you'd prefer Rafael's offer. Marriage. Safety. A man who already knows he loves you." It was the out. The safe choice. Rafael would protect me. Would love me. Would never make me feel like I had to earn my place. But I didn't love Rafael. I loved the man standing in front of me, asking for a chance despite every reason to walk away. "I'll stay," I whispered. "On one condition." "Name it." "No more lies. No more hiding. You get all of me, the bodyguard, the woman, the mother of your child. But I need all of you too. The fears you told Marco. The loneliness. The doubts. Everything." Cristiano's smile was small but genuine. "Deal." Then he kissed me. In front of his entire family. Not the desperate, confused kiss from that forgotten night. But a claiming. A promise. A declaration that I belonged to him and he belonged to me, regardless of how complicated the path forward might be. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. "I should be furious with you," he whispered. "I am furious with you. But all I can think is, I've been falling for 6 months without knowing it. And now that I can finally see you, I'm not letting go." Standing there in that dining room, exposed and terrified and somehow safe in his arms, I let myself believe it might actually work. That love could survive deception. That a mafia boss could claim his female bodyguard without consequences. That happy endings existed in a world built on blood and violence. I was a fool. But I was his fool. And tomorrow, when reality came crashing back, at least I'd have tonight. The next morning arrived with Sophia's screams. I bolted awake in the guest room Cristiano had assigned me. Not his room, not yet, but close enough that his security could monitor me. The scream came through my phone, a video call from my sister's number. But it wasn't Sophia's face on the screen. It was a man I didn't recognize. Scarred. Smiling. Holding a knife to my sister's throat. "Gianna Costa," he said pleasantly. "Or should I call you Marco? We've been watching you for quite some time. Very impressive deception. Though it does raise questions about DeLuca's security if a woman could fool them for 6 months." My blood turned to ice. "Who are you?" "Salvatore. Antonio Salvatore. Your new employer if you're smart." The rival family. The ones who'd been testing Cristiano's borders for months. "Let her go," I said, forcing my voice steady. "She's not part of this." "Oh, but she is." His leverage. Difference. Motivation. His smile widened. "You're going to do something for me, Gianna. And if you do it well, your sister lives. If you refuse," the knife pressed closer to Sophia's throat. "Well, you can imagine." Sophia's eyes were wide with terror. Tears streaming down her face. She looked so young. So scared. "What do you want?" "Simple. There's a meeting tomorrow night. Commission meeting. All the families. Including your beloved Cristiano." Salvatore's expression turned cold. "You're going to kill him." You're going to put 3 bullets in his chest during that meeting in front of everyone. And then you're going to disappear with your sister and the generous payment we'll provide. I won't do it. Then she dies. Fully. Painfully. And I'll send you pieces of her until you beg me to stop. The phone went dark. I sat there shaking, bile rising in my throat. 24 hours. I had 24 hours to figure out how to save my sister without killing the man I loved. A knock on the door. Cristiano's voice. Gianna? I heard something. Are you okay? I opened the door. He stood there in sleep pants and nothing else, hair messed from sleep, concern evident on his face. Behind him, Rafael appeared, also drawn by the noise. They took Sofia, I managed. Salvatore. He's demanding I assassinate you at tomorrow's meeting or she dies. Cristiano's expression went ice cold. Show me. I handed him my phone. Watched him replay the video. Watched fury and calculation war across his features. This is my fault, he said quietly. They found your weakness because of me. Because I claimed you publicly last night. This isn't your fault. Yes, it is. He handed back my phone. But we're going to fix it. Rafael, wake the security team. I want everything we have on Salvatore's operations. Every property, every business, every place he might be holding a 16-year-old hostage. Cristiano, there's no time. There's always time. He cupped my face gently. We'll find her. I promise you. But first, he paused. First I need to know. Are you going to try to kill me tomorrow? The question hung between us. No, I said firmly. I won't. Even to save Sofia, I won't do it. Good. Relief flickered in his eyes. Because I was really hoping you'd say that. But what do I do? Desperation cracked my voice. If I don't kill you, they'll kill her. If I do kill you, I couldn't finish the sentence. You're going to trust me, Cristiano said simply. Can you do that? After everything, after 6 months of lies and 1 night of truth, can you trust me to save your sister and keep us both alive? I searched his face. Saw determination. Saw something that looked like love even if he hadn't said the word yet. Yes, I whispered. I trust you. Then we start now. Rafael, get everyone in the strategy room. Gianna, he took my hand. You're going to tell us everything you know about Salvatore. Every detail. Every conversation you might have overheard as Marco. Your military training means you notice things others miss. We're going to use that. The next 12 hours blurred together. Maps spread across tables. Intelligence reports analyzed. Phone calls made to informants. I provided every scrap of information I'd gathered in 6 months of silent observation. There, I said, pointing to a warehouse district. 3 months ago, I overheard Salvatore's lieutenant mention a property there. Said it was perfect for keeping things quiet. I thought he meant business operations, but it's isolated, Cristiano finished. Perfect for holding someone you don't want found. He looked at Rafael. Get a team together. Quiet approach. If Sofia's there, I want her out before Salvatore knows we're moving. And if she's not there? Rafael asked. Then we move to the next location. Cristiano's voice was steel. We have 12 properties to check. We'll hit all of them simultaneously if we have to. Around 3 p.m. his phone rang. The expression that crossed his face made my stomach drop. What? I demanded when he hung up. My consigliere Antonio. He's missing. Hasn't reported in since last night. Cristiano's jaw tightened. Either he's dead or he's the one who told Salvatore about me, I finished. The pieces clicked together. Think about it. Someone had to tell them I was a woman. Someone with access to your inner circle. Someone who knew I was pregnant. Antonio's been with me for 5 years, Cristiano said, but doubt flickered in his eyes. He wouldn't. Wouldn't he? For enough money? For a better position with a rival family? I moved closer. Cristiano, someone betrayed you. Someone told Salvatore exactly when and how to strike. It has to be someone close. Rafael pulled up financial records. Holy shit. Antonio's been moving money. Small amounts but consistently. Offshore accounts. Shell companies. He looked at his brother. He's been stealing from us for at least 2 years. Betrayal crushed across Cristiano's features. Antonio. I trusted him. I know, I said gently. And that's why he was the perfect traitor. Because you'd never suspect your trusted advisor. Where is he now? Probably with Salvatore, Rafael said. Probably helping plan tomorrow's meeting. Probably. He stopped looking at me. Probably the one who told them Gianna would be vulnerable to pressure about her sister. Cristiano made a call. Put it on speaker. Antonio answered on the third ring. Boss. I was just about to check in. Where are you? Following up on a lead about the Salvatore situation. Why? Because I know you're a traitor. I know you've been stealing from me. And I know you told Salvatore about Gianna. Silence. Then Antonio's laugh, cold and ugly. Took you long enough to figure it out. Though I suppose having a woman fool you for 6 months should have been my first clue you weren't as sharp as your father. Where's the girl? Safe. For now. Complete the contract, have your bodyguard kill you tomorrow and she goes free. Refuse and, Antonio's voice turned cruel. Well, 16-year-olds are very popular in certain markets. I'm sure we can find a buyer. Cristiano's hand tightened on the phone so hard I thought it might break. I'm going to kill you. You'll have to find me first. And you won't. Not in time. Midnight tomorrow Gianna makes her choice. Her sister's life or yours. Choose wisely. The call ended. I sank into a chair, shaking. He'll actually do it. Antonio knows how to disappear. He knows all your resources, all your people. He's been planning this for months. Then we stop thinking like him, Cristiano said. We think like you. Military training. Rescue operations. How would you extract a hostage from an unknown location with limited time? I forced my mind into tactical mode. Pushed past the terror and thought. We don't find her, I said slowly. We make them bring her to us. How? I looked at Cristiano. By making them think they've won. By making Salvatore believe I'm actually going to kill you tomorrow. Absolutely not, Rafael said immediately. It's too dangerous. It's the only option that saves Sofia and exposes the traitors. I stood, feeling certainty settle over me. I go to the meeting. I play along. I make them think I'm completing the contract. And when they bring Sofia as proof of good faith, we take them all down, Cristiano finished. His eyes met mine. You'd be in incredible danger. One wrong move and you're dead. I've been in danger since the moment I put on that disguise. I moved to stand in front of him. I was your bodyguard for 6 months. I know how you move. I know how to protect you. Trust me to do this. I do trust you, he said quietly. That's what terrifies me. Then trust me to save my sister and keep you alive. I took his hand, placed it on my stomach. Trust me to protect our family. His eyes held mine for a long moment. Then he nodded. We do this together, he said. Every step. No more secrets. No more secrets, I agreed. But I was already keeping one. Because tomorrow when I walked into that meeting with a gun, I wasn't planning to kill Cristiano. I was planning to kill everyone who'd threatened the people I loved. And God help anyone who stood in my way. The meeting was set for 8 p.m. at a neutral warehouse the commission used for inter-family negotiations. Rafael spent the day outfitting me with weapons I could conceal. A Glock 19 at my back, a knife strapped to my thigh, a backup pistol at my ankle. You look terrifying, he said when I was ready. In a good way. I dressed as myself, Gianna, not Marco. Black pants, fitted shirt, hair pulled back in a ponytail. Female and undeniable. The commission would see me as I was. Cristiano appeared in the doorway. He'd been on the phone for hours, coordinating his own backup plan. Now he looked at me and something vulnerable crossed his face. Come here, he said quietly. I walked to him. He pulled me close, his hand sliding into my hair. I've never been more afraid in my life, he admitted. Not the first time you saved me. Not the second. But now, his forehead pressed to mine. Now I have everything to lose. You won't lose me, I promised. You can't know that. Yes, I can. I pulled back to meet his eyes. Because I've been protecting you for 6 months. I know every tell, every vulnerability, every threat. Nobody's better at keeping you alive than me. Arrogant. Accurate. I smiled slightly. Besides, I haven't told you everything Marco knew yet. You're not getting rid of me before I share all the embarrassing secrets. He laughed despite the tension. Like what? Like how you talk in your sleep. And how you're terrified of spiders despite being a mafia boss. And how you cry during specific Italian operas even though you pretend it's allergies. Marco, he stopped. Gianna was a terrible invasion of privacy. Gianna loved every minute of it. The words came out before I could stop them. Present tense. Honest. Raw. Cristiano went still. Love. Past tense. Loves, I corrected quietly. Present tense. Ongoing. Probably permanent at this point. His breath hitched. You love me. I've loved you for months. Since that night you told Marco about your mother's death. About how you held her hand and promised you'd make her proud. About how you still visit her grave every Sunday. I touched his face gently. You let me see your heart, Cristiano. And I fell in love with every broken beautiful piece of it. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. I kissed him softly. So try not to die tonight, okay? I have plans for us. What kind of plans? The kind that involve teaching our daughter that her father is a good man despite his profession. The kind that involve growing old together. The kind that, I paused. That involve you telling me you love me back. Eventually. When you're ready. And if I'm ready now? His hands cupped my face. If I've been ready since that night I can't remember? If Marco's friendship was just me falling for you without understanding what I was feeling. Hope flared painfully. Then say it. I love you, he whispered. Not Marco. Not my bodyguard. Gianna Costa. The woman who's been invisible and seen, hidden and exposed, lying and honest all at once. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. I love you. And I'm terrified I didn't realize it until I almost lost you. Tears burned behind my eyes. You're not losing me. Then come back to me tonight. Complete this insane plan. Save your sister. And let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worth loving back. Deal. The kiss was desperate. Claiming. A promise that we'd survive this. We had to survive this. At 7:30 we arrived at the warehouse. I went in alone as agreed, while Cristiano's men positioned themselves around the perimeter. Rafael was with his brother, both of them monitoring from a secure location half a mile away. The commission was already assembled. 5 families, their bosses seated around a long table. Salvatore sat at one end, Antonio beside him, both wearing victorious expressions. And there, tied to a chair against the far wall, was Sofia. My sister looked terrified but unharmed. When she saw me, relief and fear warred on her face. Gianna, Salvatore said pleasantly. Right on time. Your sister has been very cooperative. Hasn't even screamed too much. I forced myself not to react. Where's Cristiano? On his way. Should arrive in. He checked his watch. 3 minutes. Then you'll complete your contract and everyone goes home happy. Except Cristiano, I pointed out. Well, yes. Except him. Salvatore smiled. But he brought it on himself. Claiming a woman publicly. Making himself look weak. Better to eliminate that weakness now. Antonio leaned forward. You did well, by the way. 6 months undercover and he never suspected. That takes skill. We could use someone like you in our organization. I'm not interested. Not even to save your sister? Salvatore gestured to Sofia. Complete this one simple task. Kill Cristiano. Then you and the girl walk free with $2 million. Start a new life somewhere warm. And if I refuse? Then you both die. Slowly. His expression hardened. This isn't a negotiation, Gianna. This is an execution. The only question is whose. The door opened. Cristiano walked in, flanked by his security. His eyes found mine immediately and I saw trust there. Absolute trust that I'd do the right thing. Ah, DeLuca, Salvatore said. Perfect timing. Your bodyguard was just about to make a choice. Cristiano moved to stand beside me. Close enough to touch. Whatever choice she makes, I'll support it. Even if that choice is killing you? Salvatore laughed. How noble. How stupid. Not stupid. Trust. Cristiano looked at me. I trust her to do what's necessary. Always have. Always will. His hand found mine. Squeezed once. And I understood. He was giving me permission. Whatever I needed to do to save Sofia, even if it meant shooting him, he'd accept it. But I had a better plan. You're right, I said to Salvatore. About one thing. Cristiano made himself look weak by claiming me. Made himself vulnerable. I pulled out the Glock. Cristiano went very still. But the thing about vulnerability, I continued, is that it's only a weakness if you're not prepared for it. Then I turned and shot Antonio in the chest. 3 times. Center mass. Perfect grouping. He fell, shocked, blood spreading across his expensive shirt. The room erupted. Salvatore's men reached for weapons. The commission members dove for cover. But Cristiano's security was faster. They'd been positioned all along, hidden among the commission guards. Rafael burst through a side entrance with a tactical team. And I kept shooting. Took out Salvatore's lieutenant. His second. The man guarding Sofia. By the time the gunfire stopped, Salvatore was on his knees, hands raised, surrounded by 15 guns pointed at his head. You were wrong about something, I told him calmly. I'm not Cristiano's weakness. I'm his weapon. Always have been. Rafael cut Sofia free. She ran to me, sobbing, and I caught her with one arm while keeping the gun trained on Salvatore with the other. You okay? Asked my sister. Yeah. Scared but okay. She looked at Cristiano. Is he your mafia boss? Yes. And you're having his baby? Yes. And you were pretending to be a man for 6 months? Also yes. Sofia processed this. Cool. Way better than medical school stories. Despite everything, I laughed. The commission members emerged from cover, looking between me and Cristiano with new understanding. Well, the oldest one said. This is unprecedented. A female bodyguard. Effective, I'll admit, but... She's the best protection I've ever had, Cristiano interrupted. His hand landed on my shoulder, possessive and proud. Gender is irrelevant. Capability is all that matters. And Gianna has proven her capability 3 times now. 3. I asked. Poison. Parking garage ambush. And tonight. His eyes met mine. 3 times you've saved my life. 3 times you've proven you're exactly where you belong. Standing beside you, I finished. Standing beside me, he agreed. The commission deliberated for 30 seconds. Then the elder nodded. Your territory, your rules, DeLuca. If you vouch for her capability, we accept it. But understand, this sets precedent. Other families may follow your lead. Good, Cristiano said firmly. The more capable protection available, the safer we all are. Gender shouldn't determine worth. Skill should. I just changed the entire Mafia power structure. And all I'd wanted was to keep one man alive. Salvatore's confession came easily after 12 hours in Cristiano's interrogation room. He'd been working with Antonio for 2 years, planning to destabilize the DeLuca territory and absorb it into his own. The pregnancy was unexpected leverage. They'd planned to use Sofia regardless, but knowing I was carrying Cristiano's child made the pressure more acute. You should have just killed me when you had the chance, Salvatore spat as they dragged him away. That girl's going to get you killed eventually. She's too soft. That girl, Cristiano said coldly, has a higher body count than you. And she's carrying my heir. Disrespect her again and your death will take weeks instead of minutes. They executed Salvatore that night. Quick, clean. Commission approved. Antonio's body was dumped in the river as a message to other potential traitors. And I stood beside Cristiano through all of it, visible, acknowledged, his partner in this dark world. You okay? Rafael asked me later, finding me on the balcony of the estate. That was a lot. Even for someone with your training. I killed 4 people tonight, I said quietly. Should probably feel worse about that. They threatened Sofia. Threatened your child. Threatened my brother. Rafael stood beside me. You did what you had to do. Does it ever get easier? The violence? No. But you learned to carry it. He was silent for a moment. I meant what I said, you know. About loving you. That wasn't just strategy. I know. And you still chose him. I still chose him, I confirmed. I'm sorry. Don't be. Rafael's smile was sad. I knew you would. I've watched you watch him for 6 months. Watched Marco fall in love disguised as friendship. I hoped maybe you'd see me instead. You deserve someone who sees you first, I said gently. Not someone who loves your brother. Yeah. I do. He squeezed my shoulder. Be happy, Gianna. Make him work for it though. Don't let him forget what you sacrificed to protect him. After Rafael left, Cristiano found me. He didn't say anything, just pulled me against his chest and held on. Thank you, he finally whispered. For saving Sofia. For trusting me. For not actually shooting me even though you had legitimate reason to consider it. I laughed against his shirt. The night's still young. Don't joke. I watched you point that gun at me and my entire life flashed before my eyes. I was never going to shoot you. I know. But for 1 second. His arms tightened. I thought maybe you'd choose the safe option. Save Sofia by sacrificing me. Take Rafael's offer. Walk away from all of this. Cristiano. I pulled back to look at him. I jumped into a Mafia organization disguised as a man. I took bullets for you. I'm having your baby. At what point do you start believing that I'm all in? Now, he said quietly. Right now. This moment. When you could have walked away and didn't. I'm not walking away. Ever. You're stuck with me. Good. He kissed me softly. Because I have plans for us too. Plans that involve marrying you properly. Plans that involve our daughter knowing her mother is the bravest person I've ever met. Plans that, he paused. That involve you being exactly who you are. No more hiding. No more disguises. Just Gianna. What about Marco? You fell for Marco first. I fell for you, he corrected. I just didn't understand what I was falling for. The friendship, the trust, the way Marco made me feel seen. That was you, Gianna. All of it. The disguise just confused things. So you're saying you're attracted to masculine women? He laughed. I'm saying I'm attracted to capable women who save my life and call me on my bullshit. Gender presentation is irrelevant. That's very progressive of you. I'm a modern mafia boss. He pulled me close again. Now come to bed. You're exhausted and pregnant and you just killed 4 people. You need rest. Is this going to be your parenting style? Authoritative and slightly concerning. Absolutely. Our daughter is going to be terrified of disappointing me. Or she'll be exactly like me and completely fearless. God help us all if she inherits your tendency to throw yourself into danger without backup plans. We walked inside together, his arm around my waist, and I realized something profound. I'd spent 6 months invisible. Then one night exposed. And now I was finally truly seen. Not as Marco. Not as a disguise. Not as a role. Just as myself. And it was more than enough. 3 months later, I stood in front of the mirror in my new apartment. Not at the estate but in a secure building Cristiano owned downtown. My own space. My choice. The baby bump was visible now at 5 months. Unmistakable beneath the fitted shirt I wore. Today was significant. Today was the first official gathering where I'd appear as Cristiano's partner, carrying his heir, acknowledged and accepted. You look beautiful, Sofia said from the doorway. She'd moved into the apartment with me, transferring to a better school, no longer haunted by her kidnapping. Therapy helped. So did knowing her sister had literally killed for her. I look pregnant and terrified. You look pregnant and powerful. There's a difference. My sister moved to stand beside me. You changed everything, you know. There are 3 other women working security in the organization now. Because you proved it could be done. I just wanted to keep one stubborn man alive. And ended up changing an entire culture. Sofia grinned. Very efficient. A knock. Cristiano entered, looking devastating in a dark suit. He stopped when he saw me, something soft crossing his features. Hi, I said. Hi yourself. He moved closer, his hand automatically going to my stomach. Our daughter kicked and his smile was pure joy. She's active today. She's always active. Gets it from her father's side. Lies. You're the one who can't sit still for 5 minutes. We'd fallen into this easy rhythm over the past 3 months. Living separately but together. Building trust. Learning each other without lies between us. It was working. The gathering went better than expected. The commission families were polite if slightly awkward about my presence. A few of the wives actually seemed excited to have another woman present, even if I was there as protection rather than decoration. You're the bodyguard, one woman said, studying me with fascination. The one who was disguised as a man. That's incredible. How did you manage the... She gestured vaguely at her chest. Sports tape. Lots of sports tape. Did it hurt? Less than taking bullets. She laughed. I like you. Most of the protection here treats us like delicate flowers. Nice to see someone who doesn't. By the end of the night, I'd been offered 3 different consulting jobs by other families wanting to hire female protection. Cristiano found it hilarious. You're going to put yourself out of business, he said as we drove home. Training your competition. They're not competition. They're allies. The more capable protection available, the safer everyone is. I glanced at him. Unless you're regretting allowing this precedent? Not even slightly. You've made my organization stronger. Made me stronger. His hand found mine. Made me happier than I've been in years. Good answer. At my apartment, he walked me up despite my protests that I didn't need escorting. Maybe I want to escort you, he said. Maybe I like making sure you're safe. You're very protective for someone whose bodyguard can outshoot him. That's why I'm protective. I know exactly how dangerous you are, which means I know what you face. At my door, he pulled me close. Stay at the estate this weekend. With me. Properly. We agreed to take things slow. It's been 3 months. Our daughter is halfway here. I think we can accelerate slightly. His forehead touched mine. I want to wake up with you. Want to fall asleep with you. Want to feel her kick in the middle of the night and know you're both safe. Cristiano. Marry me. The word stopped my breath. What? Marry me. Not because you're pregnant. Not because it's practical. But because I love you and I want everyone to know it. He pulled back to meet my eyes. Because you're my partner in every sense. Because our daughter deserves parents who are committed. Because I fell in love with Marco and I'm in love with Gianna and I don't want to waste any more time pretending this isn't forever. That was possibly the least romantic proposal I've ever heard. Was there a more romantic one I'm competing with? Rafael proposed with flowers and poetry. And you said no. And I said no, I agreed. Because I didn't love him. Because I loved you. Because I touched his face gently. Because even when you couldn't see me, you knew me. Better than anyone. Marco told you everything because I trusted you with my real self even when I was hiding my real face. Is that a yes? That's it. Let me finish before you interrupt with more questions. I smiled. Yes, I'll marry you. But on conditions. Name them. We do this as equals. I'm not just your wife. I'm your partner. Your head of security. The mother of your child. All of it. Agreed. And our daughter grows up knowing her mother is more than decoration. That women can be powerful and dangerous and capable. Absolutely. And you never ever lie to me again. No matter how much you think you're protecting me. We face everything together. Done. He kissed me softly. Anything else? Yeah. You're sleeping here tonight. In my bed. Holding me. Because I'm tired of waking up alone when the person I love is 3 miles away pretending we need more time. His smile was brilliant. Best condition yet. That night, I fell asleep in Cristiano's arms, our daughter moving between us, and felt more at home than I had in years. Not invisible. Not hidden. Not disguised. Just seen. Just loved. Just myself. And it was everything. The wedding happened 6 weeks later at the family estate. Small and intimate despite Cristiano's position. I'd insisted on keeping it simple. Immediate family only, no spectacle, just commitment. I wore cream instead of white, my 7-month belly unmistakable beneath the flowing dress. Rafael stood as Cristiano's best man, his smile genuine even though I knew it cost him. Sophia was my maid of honor, looking beautiful and proud and healed. You look happy, she whispered as we waited to walk down the aisle. Really happy. Not fake happy. I am really happy. Good. You deserve it. He squeezed my hand. Dad would be proud. You honored his legacy better than anyone could have asked. The ceremony was brief. Traditional vows with personal additions. Cristiano's voice cracked when he promised to love, honor and trust me through everything. Mine shook when I promised the same. I fell for you when I couldn't see you, Cristiano said during his personal vows. Fell for your strength, your humor, your absolute certainty about right and wrong. Marco was my best friend. Gianna is my soulmate. And I promised to spend the rest of my life grateful for both. I kept my vows simpler. You let me be invisible when I needed it. And you let me be seen when I was ready. That's the greatest gift anyone's ever given me. I promise to protect your life, your heart, and our family with everything I am. When we kissed, I felt our daughter kick as if approving the union. The reception was casual. Good food, better wine, family laughing together. At one point I found Rafael on the balcony looking out at the city. You okay? I asked, joining him. Yeah. Surprisingly okay. He smiled at me. You're glowing. Pregnancy suits you. Or happiness suits me. Probably both. He was quiet for a moment. I met someone. Last week. At the art gallery downtown. She's smart, funny, completely unconnected to this world. I think maybe I was holding on to you because it was safe. Because loving you meant I didn't have to risk being vulnerable with anyone else. And now I'm ready to risk it. He squeezed my shoulder. Be happy, Gianna. You deserve it more than anyone I know. After he left, Cristiano found me. Wrapped his arms around me from behind, his hands settling on my stomach. Our daughter is going to be so loved, he murmured. By both of us. By Sophia. By Rafael. By this entire family. She's already so loved. Have you thought about names? Isabella, I said quietly. After your grandmother. The one who orchestrated all of this. Cristiano went still. You'd name our daughter after Nana? She saw what you couldn't see. Knew I was right for you before either of us knew it. If she hadn't given me that impossible condition, I turned in his arms. If she hadn't forced me to become Marco, we never would have built the friendship that became love. So yes, Isabella. After the woman who knew exactly what she was doing. She'd be honored, Cristiano said, his voice thick with emotion. She died knowing I'd finally found you. Died happy. Then let's make sure Isabella knows she was named after a very smart, very conniving, very loving woman who believed in impossible things. Like female bodyguards? Like love that survives deception. Like partnership that's stronger than tradition. I paused. Like a mafia boss falling for his disguised protector and building something better than what came before. We danced until late, celebrating not just our marriage but the family we'd built from impossible circumstances. When we finally left for our wedding night, Sophia caught my hand. Thank you, she said. For everything. For protecting me. For saving me. For showing me what real strength looks like. You're going to change the world, Sophia. I'm just giving you the foundation to do it from. Like you changed this world? Accidentally. I just wanted to keep one man alive. And ended up revolutionizing an entire organization. He grinned. Very on brand for you. Cristiano and I spent our wedding night in the penthouse suite of his downtown building, talking and laughing and planning until dawn. I want to expand the training program, I said, curled against his chest. Bring in more women. Prove that capable protection doesn't depend on gender. Do it. You have my full support. And I want our daughter to grow up seeing both sides. The protection and the art collection. The violence and the charity foundation. All of it. She'll know everything. The good and the complicated. He kissed my forehead. And she'll know her mother was brave enough to disguise herself, smart enough to save lives, and strong enough to transform a culture. No pressure for her then. She's our daughter. She'll handle it. I fell asleep feeling safe. Everything I'd never let myself want because I'd been too busy being invisible. But invisibility, I'd learned, was just a tool. Being seen, being truly known, that was the goal. And I'd finally reached it. Isabella was born on a Tuesday morning in early December, 3 weeks before her due date and completely on her own schedule. The labor was fast, intense, and absolutely terrifying for Cristiano, who'd faced down armed assassins with more composure than he showed watching me in pain. You're doing great, I told him as another contraction hit. I'm not the one doing anything, he said, looking pale. God, Gianna, how are you this calm? I've been shot twice. This is marginally better. That's not reassuring. Sophia, who'd insisted on being present, was filming the entire thing despite my protests. This is going in Isabella's baby book, she said. The moment her father almost passed out while her mother was completely composed. I'm not almost passing out, Cristiano protested. Then another contraction hit and he had to sit down. 6 hours later, Isabella De Luca entered the world screaming her displeasure at the bright lights and cold air. She had Cristiano's dark hair and my olive skin and absolutely no patience for anything, which seemed fitting given her genetics. She's perfect, Cristiano whispered, holding her for the first time with the reverence usually reserved for religious artifacts. She's so perfect. She looks like an angry little old man, Sophia said honestly. The most beautiful angry little old man in the world, Cristiano corrected, not looking away from his daughter. I watched him fall completely in love in real time. Watched the dangerous Mafia boss transform into a soft-hearted father who would probably never tell this child no. We're in trouble, I told Sophia. So much trouble, she agreed. He's going to be absolutely useless at discipline. That's what mothers are for. Over the next few weeks, we settled into a chaotic routine. Isabella slept in 2-hour increments, which meant neither of us slept much at all. Cristiano insisted on handling night feedings so I could rest, which resulted in him walking around the penthouse at 3 a.m. singing Italian lullabies while Isabella screamed her opinions about everything. She hates me, he said one exhausted morning. My own daughter hates me. She doesn't hate you. She's just very opinionated. She's 3 weeks old. And already has you wrapped around her tiny finger. I took Isabella from him. She immediately settled, which made Cristiano look offended. How do you do that? I don't know. Maybe she senses your panic. I'm not panicking. You're definitely panicking. Despite the chaos, or maybe because of it, I'd never been happier. The organization had accepted my return to work. Modified schedule, training new recruits rather than active protection. And Cristiano had transitioned more operations to legitimate businesses. I want Isabella to inherit something better, he explained one night. Something that doesn't require her to choose between family loyalty and moral certainty. You're a good father. I'm a terrified father who has no idea what he's doing. Same thing. Rafael visited often, bringing his new girlfriend Anna, who turned out to be exactly right for him. She worked as a librarian, knew nothing about the Mafia, and treated Rafael like he was just a regular guy rather than an heir to a criminal empire. You seem happy, I told Rafael during one visit. I am. Genuinely. He watched Anna playing with Isabella. You were right. I needed someone who saw me first. Who didn't have all the history and complication. I'm glad you found her. Me too. He smiled. And I'm glad you found him. Even if it took you 6 months of pretending to be a man to do it. Best investment I ever made. When Isabella was 3 months old, I returned to active training duties. The program had expanded significantly, 8 women now, with more applying every week. I taught them what I'd learned, that strength wasn't about gender, that capability was about skill and dedication, that the world would underestimate them but that was an advantage if they knew how to use it. You're building an army, Cristiano observed one day watching me work with the new recruits. I'm building options. For them. For their families. For anyone who thought they couldn't do this because of their gender. You've changed everything, you know. Other families are following our lead. The commission voted last week to officially recognize female protection as legitimate. Good. That's how it should be. All because you jumped in disguised as Marco and saved my life repeatedly. I had good motivation. His arms came around me from behind. What motivation? Always you. I turned to kiss him. From the moment you said Marco had your father's eyes, I knew I'd do anything to prove that legacy meant something. It means everything. Your father would be so proud. We stood like that for a while, watching the recruits train, watching the world we'd built together evolve into something neither of us had expected but both of us wanted. I have a confession, Cristiano said eventually. What? I knew. Not the whole time, but I suspected. Around month 4. Small things didn't add up. The way you moved. The way you smelled. The way my body responded to Marco that made no sense. He paused. I convinced myself I was imagining it. That I was just lonely and projecting. But part of me knew. And you didn't say anything? Because the other part of me, the part that was falling in love, didn't want to lose what we had. So I convinced myself it didn't matter. That Marco was real regardless of biology. He turned me to face him. Was that wrong? I thought about it. No. Because if you'd confronted me I would have run. Would have disappeared and you never would have found me. The deception gave us time. Time to build trust. Time to fall in love without gender complicating things. So we both lied? We both protected what we were building. I touched his face. And we built something beautiful. We built everything. That night, lying in bed with Isabella sleeping between us, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. 6 months invisible. 1 moment exposed. And now a lifetime of being seen. I love you, I whispered into the darkness. I love you too, Cristiano whispered back. Marco, Gianna, all of you. Even the parts that shot for people to protect our family? Especially those parts. I smiled in the darkness and fell asleep feeling safe, loved, and exactly where I belonged. Isabella's first birthday arrived with shocking speed. Cristiano insisted on a massive celebration despite my protests that she was 1 and wouldn't remember any of it. But we'll remember, he countered. We'll remember the first year we survived as parents. Barely survived. Still counts. The party was held at the estate with family and close associates attending. Isabella, who'd grown into a tiny terror with her father's stubbornness and my determination, spent most of the event trying to eat her cake with her hands while her father documented every moment. You're going to have 10,000 photos of the same thing, Sophia pointed out. And I'll treasure every single one, Cristiano said without looking away from his daughter. Rafael arrived with Anna, who was now his fiancée and completely integrated into family life despite her initial culture shock. I still can't believe you were disguised as a man, Anna said, watching me chase Isabella away from the decorations. How did that even work? Carefully and with a lot of sports tape. Did it hurt? Less than childbirth. She laughed. Everything's a comparison with you. Occupational hazard. Later, after Isabella had destroyed her cake and passed out from exhaustion, Cristiano found me on the balcony. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For this year. For our daughter. For transforming my entire world. His arms came around me. I was so alone before you. Didn't even realize how lonely I was until Marco became my friend and I finally had someone to talk to. You're welcome. Though technically you were talking to me the whole time. Best conversation partner I ever had. He kissed my temple. I want another one. Another conversation? Another baby. I turned in his arms. Isabella is one. I know. I'm not saying right now. Just, eventually. I want our daughter to have siblings. Want our family to grow. He paused. Want to spend the rest of my life building this with you. That's very domestic for a mafia boss. I'm a reformed mafia boss. Mostly legitimate now. Very domestic. You killed someone last month. He was threatening our family. That doesn't count. Pretty sure it counts. We stood like that, looking out at the city, planning a future that seemed impossible a year ago. Do you ever miss it? Cristiano asked. Being Marco? The invisibility. No. Being seen is better. Even when it's complicated. I leaned back against him. Though sometimes I miss the simplicity. When all I had to do was stand behind you and keep you alive. Before there were feelings and complications and love. And love, I agreed. Definitely before the love. Liar. You loved me as Marco. Maybe. But I didn't have to do anything about it. Didn't have to risk being rejected or hurt or vulnerable. Could just love you from the safety of a disguise. And now I'm vulnerable every day. Every time you hold Isabella. Every time you look at me like I'm your entire world. Every time I realize how much I have to lose. I turned to meet his eyes. It's terrifying. Good, he said. Bez, I'm terrified too. Terrified something will happen to you or Isabella. Terrified I'll fail as a father. Terrified I'm not good enough for this life we're building. You're more than good enough. So are you. He kissed me softly. That's what makes us work. We're both terrified and doing it anyway. Inside someone dropped a glass. We heard Sophia's voice. Isabella, no. That's not a toy. Our daughter's responding shriek suggested she disagreed. We should probably, I started. Rescue your sister from our demonic offspring? Cristiano finished. Probably. We walked back inside together toward the chaos and noise and love that had become our daily life. And I wouldn't have changed a single moment. Not the deception. Not the revelation. Not the violence or the fear or the impossible choices. Because all of it had led here. To a life where I was seen, loved, and exactly where I belonged. 5 years later, I stood in the training facility watching my advanced class demonstrate close protection techniques. The program had grown exponentially, 30 women now with a waiting list of 50 more. We'd expanded to include self-defense classes for civilians, anti-trafficking operations, and partnerships with law enforcement. Isabella burst through the door, her 5-year-old energy barely contained by Sophia, who'd graduated medical school and now worked at Brooklyn Methodist. "Mama." Isabella ran to me. "Papa said I could watch today if I was quiet." "Did he now?" I glanced at Cristiano, who'd followed our daughter inside. "That seems optimistic." "She promised to be silent as a mouse," Cristiano said seriously. "Mice are actually very noisy," Sophia pointed out. "They squeak constantly." "Silent as a very quiet mouse," Cristiano amended. Isabella lasted approximately 4 minutes before asking 12 questions about what the women were doing, why they were doing it, and whether she could try. "When you're older," I told her. "Much older." "How much older?" 16 at least." "That's forever." "Yes. Forever." I crouched to her level. "But you can watch and learn." That's what I did first. Watched my father work. Learned everything I could. By the time I was old enough to train, I already knew half of what I needed to know. Was Nano Antonio a good bodyguard? The best. He protected people he loved. Made sure they stayed safe. That's what we do here. Teach people how to protect the ones they love. Isabella processed this with her usual serious expression, so much like her father's that it sometimes made my heart hurt. "I'm going to protect Papa when I'm bigger," she announced. "And you, and baby brother, and Aunt Sophia, and Uncle Rafael, and..." "That's a lot of people to protect," Cristiano said, picking her up. "Good thing you're going to train hard." Later that night, after Isabella was asleep and our 2-year-old son Antonio was down, Cristiano and I collapsed on the couch together. "She's determined to follow in your footsteps," he said. "God help us. At least she'll be well trained. That's what terrifies me. She's going to be too capable. Too willing to throw herself into danger. Like her mother." "Exactly." We sat in comfortable silence, the kind that came from 5 years of partnership, 2 children, and countless moments of choosing each other. "Do you remember?" I asked quietly. "That night at the family dinner? When Rafael forced the reveal. Every detail. The way your hair fell. The shock on your face. The absolute terror that I'd lost you before I'd really found you. I thought it was over. Thought you'd never forgive the deception. I forgave it before I even understood what I was forgiving." His hand found mine. "Because the person who'd been protecting me, talking to me, being my friend, that was you, Gianna. All of it. The disguise was just packaging. Very male packaging. Very convincing male packaging," he corrected. "I have to say you made an attractive man. That's possibly the weirdest compliment I've ever received. I'm a complicated person with complicated attractions." I laughed, tucking myself against his side. "I love you. Even when you're being weird about my former gender presentation. I love you too. Even when you're being impossible about accepting compliments. We're a mess. We're perfect." Rafael appeared in the doorway, Anna and their 1-year-old daughter Lucia with him. "Sorry to interrupt," Rafael said. "But Lucia just woke up screaming and Anna remembered you have that special lullaby that works miracles." "The one in Neapolitan?" I asked. "That's the one." I took Lucia, who immediately settled against my shoulder. Sang the lullaby my grandmother had taught me, the same one I'd sung to Isabella and Antonio, the same one that carried generations of comfort. When I finished, Lucia was asleep. Rafael took her back carefully. "Thank you," he said, "for everything. Then and now. Your family. That's what family does." After they left, Cristiano pulled me back to the couch. "You're magic with children," he said. "I'm magic with this family." I corrected. "There's a difference." "Tell me again," he requested, the way he did sometimes late at night. "About the first time you saved my life. About what you were thinking." I thought, I can't let him die. Not him. Not today. I settled against him. I didn't know why it mattered so much. Didn't understand that I was already falling in love with the man I was supposed to just protect. But in that moment when I smelled the poison, I knew I'd do anything to keep you alive. And the second time? The parking garage. I thought, bullets hurt less than losing him. which was objectively insane but also completely true. And the third time? With Salvatore. I thought, I'm done letting anyone threaten my family. Done being invisible. Done letting fear control my choices. I looked up at him. That's when I finally chose. Not you over safety. Not protection over love. Just, everything. All of it. The complicated mess that is our life. Best choice you ever made? Second best. What was the first? Cutting my hair. Binding my chest. Walking into your grandmother's study and agreeing to become Marco. I smiled. Because if I hadn't done that, if I'd been too proud or too scared, I never would have been your friend first. Never would have earned your trust. Never would have built the foundation that let us survive everything else. So the deception was necessary? The deception was survival. The truth was choice. Both mattered. We sat like that until late, talking about everything and nothing, planning the future, remembering the past. Eventually we went to check on the children. Isabella was sprawled across her bed, covers kicked off, looking peaceful and fierce even in sleep. Antonio was curled into a ball, clutching his stuffed lion, breathing softly. They're perfect, Cristiano whispered. They're ours, I corrected. That's what makes them perfect. In our bedroom, Cristiano pulled me close. Thank you, he said for perhaps the 1000th time. For what specifically this time? For being brave enough to disguise yourself. For being strong enough to protect me. For being honest enough to eventually show me who you really were. He kissed me softly. For choosing me even when I didn't deserve it. You deserved it. You just didn't know it yet. And now you know. Now we both know. Now we get to live the life we built from impossible circumstances. I love you, Gianna Costa De Luca. I love you too, Cristiano De Luca. Even when I'm being overprotective of our children? Especially then. It's adorable watching you panic about age-appropriate activities. Isabella wants to learn knife throwing. She's 5. Exactly what I said. We'll teach her when she's 8. Compromise. You're impossible. You love me anyway. I love you because of it. Not anyway. Because. I fell asleep that night the way I'd fallen asleep for 5 years. Safe, loved, and exactly where I belonged. Not invisible. Not disguised. Just myself. Just Gianna. Wife. Mother. Protector. Partner. And every single part of me was seen, accepted, and loved. The woman who'd saved a mafia boss's life while pretending to be a man. The bodyguard who'd fallen in love with the person she was protecting. The mother building a future better than the past. I'd spent 6 months invisible. But I'd spend the rest of my life gloriously, powerfully, unapologetically seen. And that made every moment of deception, every second of fear, every risk I'd taken worth it. Because I'd found something rare. Not just love. Not just safety. Not just acceptance. I'd found a place where all of me, soldier and mother, bodyguard and wife, Gianna and the ghost of Marco, could exist together. Where strength didn't require masculinity. Where love didn't require perfection. Where family was built from choice, not just blood. And where being seen, truly, completely seen, was the greatest gift of all.